this year. Warm weather, a lack of rainfall and low groundwater levels means that some farmers have been struggling with their crop. And now the National Farmers Union says growing cereal crops in particular has become increasingly difficult and often unpredictable. In a moment, we'll talk about this year's unusual weather and what it could mean for farming in the future. But first, Rachel Bell has been speaking to a barley farmer in Banff in Aberdeenshire about the challenges he's currently facing.
It's certainly been a challenging harvest. The weather pre-harvest this summer, we had very little rain. The little bit of rain that we had encouraged a lot of secondary growth, and the tillers came up well, but the heat wave that we got mid-July ripened the crops probably 2 to 3 weeks earlier than normal, meaning those little seeds did not get time to fill, and that's why we're having issues with meeting the specification set by the maltsters. Unless it is cleaned and screened properly, it will only be used for animal feed, and that is taking a significant drop in the price per tonne that the farmer will get. We're probably going to be losing about £70 per tonne, which on a market that was already very depressed due to lack of demand, the price at that time was not good, and now to lose even more is going to be crippling for any farmer that can't find a home for that grain.
The land that we're standing on is very dry. You haven't had to dry this batch of grain, have you?
No, this is coming in today probably about 15%, which is unusual for up in the northeast here. We're normally cutting grain at 17–18% moisture. So yes, we have had no drying costs this year. But as you can see, the ground we're on is so dry. For establishing our next year's winter crops, we desperately need rain to make that seeds germinate. And this is how far in front we've got to look, as it's next year's crop going in already.
Farming is unpredictable. It's the nature of it, isn't it? Do you think the weather has made it increasingly unpredictable this year?
It has, and I don't know if it's going to get worse. We'll have to make the best use of the tools we've got. This would be a prime example this year, with the barley suffering from drought, for gene editing, plant breeding. We need to get as much resources into that as possible.
That was Rachel Bell speaking to Jack Stevenson on his farm. Well, the warm and sunny weather and the lack of rainfall don't show much sign of stopping soon, but just how unusual has this year been? Well, let's speak to our resident expert now, Chris Blanchett. Chris, what can you tell us then about the weather this year?
Well, it has been extreme, hasn't it? And that is the trend that we've been seeing in recent years. We need to look at the difference between weather and climate. Climate is a warming climate. That's what we know. But of course, the weather is what we see on a day-to-day basis. But just looking over the bigger, broader picture of the last few months for this year, it has been warmer, not only through summer, but also spring and winter as well. In fact, spring was 1.7 degrees warmer than the average. That doesn't sound like an awful lot, but climate scientists say 1.5 degrees is really what we should be aiming at, because once we go over that, it's a tipping point, and our climate will begin to irreversibly change, and we'll see those big impacts as well. And you know, seasonal extremes are normal, but it's the rate at which we are now seeing them and the intensity of those extremes as well. They are becoming far more frequent than they ever used to. Historically, record-breaking events would be sort of once in a decade, and now we're seeing them once every year or every few years.
So then, Chris, is this likely to keep happening?
Well, certainly warmer, wetter winters and hotter, drier summers are what we're expecting to be the most prevalent weather, if you like, that we're going to see in future years. So more intense heat waves, droughts, wildfires, heavier downpours and rising sea levels as well. So there will be consequences, not just for agriculture, as we've been hearing, but a broad spectrum of industry as well: health, transport, water, nature and the economy as well. Everything will be affected. Some changes, as we've been seeing, are already happening, but the scale of future impacts, well, that really depends on how quickly, if at all, we are able to cut those emissions.
OK, Chris, thank you very much for that very important